From digging out, exhausted yet?
Yes, most definitely.
To driving into work. How long did it take you to get to work today?
Oh, hour and 10 minutes.
What does it normally take?
30 to 40 minutes.
This first day after the weekend storm is one many would like to forget. How are the side streets?
Side streets are very slippery.
One of the toughest streets to navigate on has to be this one. It's 16th and Spring. You got buildings overhead blocking the sun. You got ice on the ground, and you've also got a hill. You add those three things together, and this is what you get.
Some cars like this one were going way too fast for the icy road conditions. The car just barely missed smacking into the fender of our 11 Alive Blazer. Ironically, just a minute after the near collision, a city crew arrived to sand the street. And walking along sidewalks wasn't much better.
I left late like the guys on the radio saying leave late, so I left
Leave late. Best thing to do?
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of people left late or not at all today. Downtown Atlanta looked empty. And by noon, parking lots were still pretty vacant.
How much is business off right now?
By 70%.
Among those working today, city crews trying to clean up.
Is this worse than the ice storm a couple of weeks ago?
Yes. A lot of trees knocking down power.
The crews had to cut up this old oak. It destroyed part of a house and two fences as it fell during the storm. And while the melting ice was a good sign for drivers, it meant problems for gas crews.
Water is in the line and it did freeze up. Knocked the floor gas off.
But between the sun and the sand trucks, traffic and the city itself could be back to normal tomorrow. Bob Sokoler, 11 Alive News.
The accident occurred just after 8 here on the outside loop of the Baltimore Beltway, just under the Frederick Road overpass.
Right now, the fire department is trying to get a guy out from that yellow Triumph Spitfire, which is wedged underneath that truck and between this other Oldsmobile. They understand that the guy is alive inside. In fact, he is talking at this moment. He is conscious.
I don't know if he is now, but he has communicated with them.
While some fire and emergency crews worked to free the man trapped in the car, other emergency crews worked on people who had already been freed.
Were you in this truck?
Yes.
What happened?
I don't know.
The cement, the truck with the bricks come speeding down the road behind us, and it looked like he was going to head for the exit, and we tried to get out of his way.
Shock Trauma's medevac chopper arrived on the scene to transport the more seriously injured people. Police officials here tell me they believe the truck carrying cement bricks was traveling too fast. And when the traffic slowed down on the Beltway because of construction, the cement truck just couldn't stop in time. Emergency crews worked as quickly as they could to get to as many people as possible. Those with minor injuries were taken to St. Agnes Hospital.
It's now almost an hour and a half after this accident first occurred, and the man who was in the car is still there. Medical officials here tell me they've got to get him out soon or they're going to lose him.
Led by Dr. Amin Ramsey from the Shock Trauma Unit, emergency crews were finally able to free the man about 9:35. He was flown to Shock Trauma. With Instant Eye, Bob Sokoler, Channel 13 Eyewitness News.
Bob, what have you been able to find out?
Well, there's not much known at this point, Jill. Let me explain to you that we're flying at about 1,000 feet over the southeast section of the Ocala National Forest in some extremely bad weather. Right now it's pouring rain and there's a lot of hail out there, and we understand that this was the weather condition that the plane was flying in when it went down. From what we understand, it was an F-4E fighter aircraft. There were 2 people on board the aircraft. They had been based out of Moody Air Force Base in Valdosta, Georgia. We also understand that they were on a night training mission, and they went down in this section of the Ocala National Forest about 7:45 tonight. As we understand, there are search teams right now on the ground looking for survivors. But that's about it. We have been unable to land because of the weather conditions, and quite frankly, we're going to be heading back to base in a short time if these weather conditions don't clear up. Again, very heavy rain out here and a lot of hail going on, and quite frankly, I'll be a lot happier when we're on the ground. Jill?
He was a super guy. Nice.
Co-worker and Rosie O'Grady Vice President Sherry Martello was close to tears as she talked about Bob Favreau, the 43-year-old pilot who was flying this skywriting plane when it collided with a twin-engine Cessna that looked similar to this one. These pictures were taken during a story on Bob Favreau by PM Magazine back in 1984. At the time, he talked about the difficulty of his job.
Skywriting takes a tremendous amount of concentration, and
It's all done by timing, account system, 1,000, 2,000, and so on, and by ground reference.
Officials for the Central Florida Entertainment Complex say that Favreau had just finished an afternoon of skywriting when the collision over northwest Orlando occurred.
At almost exactly 4 p.m. this afternoon, the air traffic controller reported 2 radar blips merging over the Rosemont area. They merged into one and then disappeared from the screen.
A spokesperson for the FAA now says that the Cessna was flying from Huntsville, Alabama to Orlando International Airport. The Rosie O'Grady plane was en route to Orlando Executive Airport, 7 miles north of the International Airport. Apparently, both planes were talking to different air traffic controllers in the same tower. The collision and crash of the skywriting plane and Cessna marks the second time in less than a year that a pilot working for Rosie O'Grady's Church Street station has died. It was last November when another pilot, working for Rosie O'Grady, crashed on takeoff of his Banner towing plane. Engine failure, the apparent cause. Officials for Rosie O'Grady this evening said their planes are kept in top condition.
Been doing this for, 12, 14 years now. From what we're able to determine, there's no pilot error, no mechanical problems. It's just one of those unfortunate things that, happens occasionally, and hopefully, if we're lucky, won't happen again.
Bob Favreau is survived by a wife and 2 teenage children. Rosie O'Grady officials say they are grounding their planes out of respect to the family until further notice.
Bob Sokoler is in the newsroom with details.
More than 2,000 homeowners called Maitland City Hall tonight wondering what happened to their water. Several square miles of Maitland were cut off from their water supply because city water crews ran into problems repairing a water line. Those repair problems forced a lot of people to learn to live without running water.
Water's been out since since about 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Dan McMahon shaved with the help of pool water tonight.
I have to go on a date in a little while. So you're using the pool water to shave? It's the only water we have.
We were even desperate enough to use the chlorine water out of the pool.
To do what?
To cook spaghetti.
Now Rachel McMahon is waiting to do the evening dishes and go to sleep.
You can't take showers, because there's no water working, and you can't wash your hair or anything.
The people of Maitland took the water outage in stride. One homeowner used pool water to fill up the tank of her toilet so it could flush. The one major complaint...
Had we been warned that this is going to happen, of course we could have filled up the bathtubs, and so could everyone else.
The reason the water is turned off is because of a problem that occurred here at the number 4 pump plant. A valve broke. The repair job was only expected to take several hours, but the work crews ran into problems.
It's sagging on this platform, and not being able to get the bob in. The pipe sagged, and it's out of line.
By 8 tonight, water was returning to area faucets, and city crews were flushing water lines.
Maitland water crews say even though they flushed the lines out tonight, homeowners who experienced a water outage today should clear their lines. Let the water run for several minutes so any of the dirt or sand that may have gotten into those lines can be flushed out. Glenn?
This controversy is not Cobb's alone. Tonight in our 11 News cover story, Bob Sokoler looks at arts and money, tax money, and why it's such a sensitive issue.
You've seen this, right? The commercial touts Atlanta as having a diverse, thriving cultural center. It's a big selling point for Atlanta's Chamber of Commerce.
When companies relocate or expand in Atlanta in particular, they look at the arts and the culture community as an essential part of the quality of life.
A quality of life which includes having a symphony, high museum, arts festival, and a whole lot more, is also profitable. Look at this Chamber of Commerce study. 160 local arts organizations receive about $47 million in public and private funding. The economic benefit for Atlanta? More than $600 million in the form of jobs, construction, hotels, and food. But this issue is more than about money.
The tax dollars help make arts accessible to everyone. Take away the government money, and arts will remain only the province of the rich.
There's so much more given by government as a percentage of tax revenues in Europe than is even thought of in the United States. And what they've done is to make the arts affordable for everyone.
Even so, those of you who live in Fulton County spend $3.4 million tax dollars to support the arts. That fact gets mixed reviews.
The way the economy is now, I think that it should be a reasonable price.
Is $3.4 million too much in your mind?
Yes, I do think so.
I'd like to use my tax dollars to fund the arts. I have no problem with it.
If you're down here and you can see all the homeless people and there are needy people, there are other ways to spend that money.
I have a philosophical problem, Bob, with any public money going to support the arts when there are so many other needs that people have out there.
Atlanta Journal columnist Dick Williams is an outspoken critic of public funding for the arts.
What happens is that money goes not just to the Atlanta Symphony and the Atlanta Ballet and the Alliance Theater, but it goes to a lot of neighborhood groups and individuals. That's where it gets dicey, when you start talking about money to individual artists. And is that justified, or is that just a welfare program for artists?
That is one side of the arts funding argument that has split our community.
We're good in bed. Excellent bed. We smell it bed.
There are 3 levels of funding for organizations in 1993. The Woodruff Arts Center is among those getting the most money. This year, a little more than $700,000. That money helps bring to Atlanta quality Broadway productions like Falsettos, which runs into October. In the middle category, $29,000 goes to the Atlanta Botanical Garden. Now, what do you get out of that? Well, free admission to the garden every Thursday between 1 and 7. $46,000 tax dollars goes to help publish this magazine.
What we're trying to do is to certainly give new writers an outlet for their work.
Pearl Clegg is editor of Catalyst, 5,000 copies published twice a year.
The magazine has won awards. The magazine has gotten great reviews every week.
But magazine aside, Pearl Clegg has herself been the subject of criticism.
Money for the arts is subject entirely to political pressure. Look at Fulton County, where the ex-wife of the commission chairman gets a stipend and expenses to run an arts magazine.
The reason that I do this job and do it well has nothing to do with my personal life. It has to do with the fact that I'm a very talented editor and a very good writer.
Even if it were the greatest arts magazine in the world, shouldn't it stand on its own? Shouldn't it operate without public subsidy?
A public subsidy is also helping painter David Ivey. He received $2,900 tax dollars to help publish a catalog of his 8x10 paintings. This is a mock-up of the final product.
If you're not in New York, you have to find some way of letting people outside the region know about your work. This is the record.
Now, before making a judgment on all of this, understand that getting tax dollars is not a cakewalk. There are strict guidelines. Lots of artists apply for public money. Not that many get it.
And people who have a problem with public money going to cultural things at a moment when all of us are struggling just to pay the rent and put food on the table, I think have an argument that needs to be heard, because it makes those of us who are doing cultural work take it seriously.
Now, there is no quick answer to this funding issue, but because of all the recent publicity, expect to see this become an issue in the upcoming mayoral election. And take a look what's happening here at the Arts Festival. This is already being set up here. There's a poster being put up. Up here it says, "This is art." You got a picture of the Mona Lisa. Now take a look at the bottom picture here. This is art in Cobb County. This went up earlier this week. They were taken down or even taken by people who wanted to keep these as souvenirs, and they've been put up again today. This issue will continue to be with us. Back to you.
It certainly will. Thank you, Bob.
Right. Bob Sokoler says that has shocked and angered many Holocaust survivors.
Some people are just outright racist, and some people just hate Jews. Some people hate the truth.
Benjamin Hirsch lives with the truth. He is a survivor of the Holocaust that killed 6 million Jews between 1939 and 1945.
What do you say to someone who says the Holocaust never existed?
I respond with anger, and I respond with disbelief, almost in a sense.
4 of Benjamin's family members were among those slaughtered by the Nazis.
My mother and my brother and sister died in Auschwitz, in the death camp there.
His father died in a camp outside the city of Oranienburg. Benjamin's uncle saw his mother, brother, and sister just before their deaths.
Was able to see from afar that they were in line to go into the showers. They had no idea that they were going into their death. I mean, there was gas showers. There was gas coming through the shower heads, and then they were burned.
Benjamin has devoted his life to making sure we do not forget the Holocaust. He has designed the Holocaust Memorial at Greenwood Cemetery.
We are trying to tell the story of what happened. We want to, the purpose of the center is to educate.
And he designed the Holocaust Center, built here in the basement of the Atlanta Jewish Community Center on Peachtree.
The Holocaust should be part of the education process of the history, of world history that we learn, because there's such a lesson to be learned from it. And if you can't learn from history, you are destined to repeat it.
Unfortunately, we didn't believe it ourselves. It was too horrible to believe.
This Atlanta Holocaust Center not only teaches history, it's also a place where relatives come to remember those who did not make it out of the death camps.
Ruth survived Auschwitz.
And as for the new Holocaust Center in Washington, well, Benjamin is not comfortable with it.
I'm not happy complete with the memorial because I don't think that the full story of America's role in the Holocaust can be told. And when I say America's role, I mean America's sinister role in the Holocaust.
Important, with the help of the center here, the Holocaust Center in Atlanta, we point out why so many Jewish people are upset with the placement of the Holocaust Center in Washington, D.C. On the wall over here is a map of Poland. During the war, America, it is written, and other countries had the ability to bomb the railroad lines that led to the death camps in Poland, but they turned their back. Now understand that the mall in Washington, D.C. is there to help celebrate the best of America. And certainly when it comes to European Jews and helping them in the war, America did far less than its best, and 6 million people died, and more, other than Jews. Back to you.
Well, Bob, as the years go by, these people, I'm sure, realize the educational effort just gets more and more important.
It really is, because as we get away from it, many people begin to forget. And without reminders like the Holocaust Center here in Atlanta and in Washington and around the world, you could forget what happened.
Thank you, Bob.
We're on a New Hampshire Avenue in Apopka right now, Michelle. Folks with the Apopka Fire Department. Being a firefighter, no matter where you are around the country and the world for that matter, it's one of the most dangerous jobs around. And the reason these folks here can stay safe, as well as other places around, other firefighting units around the country stay safe, is because of the training. We're going to take you on a recent training exercise. This is a very unusual fire. It was set deliberately by firefighters. What you are watching is actually a training session for Apopka and Maitland firefighters. It's done on a regular basis.
You learn different techniques each time, different fog patterns to use.
The houses burned for this unusual training exercise are vacant. For many, these training sessions give firefighters a chance to practice with equipment and with other fire departments. As you can imagine, handling a hose can be very difficult. Just ask firefighter Sue Monk, who's being taught by partner Mike Ducharme.
Yeah. Now lean into it. Lean on it. Just lean right on it. There you go. Lean into it, Sue. Lean down. Lean down. He's teaching me a lot. I've only been on the department for about 6 months.
Now, what we're doing right now is putting me into a turnout coat. It's a standard gear issuance for fighting a fire. And what we're about to do, go ahead, what we're going to be doing in just a few minutes is igniting this vacant house behind us here in New Hampshire, and we're going in live. I don't know if we've ever done anything like this before. We're going to be on respirators. It's going to sound a little funny, muffled, our audio will, because we'll be breathing through oxygen masks, or the equivalent of oxygen masks. We'll be back with you in a few minutes when this house is fully involved, and we'll be inside. Okay, Michelle?
Do me a favor, Bob. I've been gone for a week. I miss you. Just be careful, all right?
Okay.
All right. See you in a bit.
All right.
Well, as you probably...
Can you hear me okay?
It's muffled, but we can understand you.
All right. We're going in with the captain. Let's go in there. Again, this is being done on a regular basis of training. Get down. You'll be able to feel the difference if you stay down here on the ground, okay? Right. And feel how hot it is up top. Okay. But the lower you stay to the ground, the better off you are. All right. If you look over your head here, you'll see where the fire's rolling over your head. This is why, should you be awakened in the middle of the night by your smoke detector, you want to roll out of your bed and make sure that you don't ever stand up. See how the smoke? Get out! It's okay, Bob. Stay down. All right. There you go. You see how the smoke? These are noxious gases that we wouldn't be able to breathe in here if we didn't have our own air supply. If we were up there, we would definitely be passed out. Where it's good and safe down here. Okay, now, if we're trying to get out of a burning house, You check against doors to make sure that they're not hot. Using the back of your hand. Yeah. Always use the back of your hand because if you touch with the front of your hand, the reflex is to grab. Okay? All right. So touch the door with the back of your hand, and that way if it's hot, you'll know not to open it. There's probably fire on the other side. You need to go.